Hello and welcome back to my craft room. It's time for another Kawandi update. I'm still going great guns on this new to me quilting method. I'm just absolutely loving it. It's just so, I think I said before, it just feels so easy and intuitive now that I know how I should be doing it, thanks to a couple of my lovely viewers putting me straight. Don't know what I'd do without you. So this was the big bag that I made out of my first two quilts, and as the backing I used these lovely bright coloured African prints, and I loved the idea of that because I was using the recycled Indian fabrics and the African print on the inside, and the city people who invented Kawandi quilting are originated in Africa, although they are based in India now. So I did think I need to work out the little triangle things. Now Mary told me what those are called, and now I've forgotten it again. Phulas. And apparently you do just fold a little square and stitch onto the corners. So although this isn't a quilt now, it's a bag, I still think the little corners would look nice, so I'm going to do that in a bit. This is, and that's what I've been keeping my fabric scraps that I've been working with in, so that's been really handy. And then I've got my little bag that I made with the one that I did the wrong way the first time. But I've made it into a really useful little kind of tote bag that I can put projects in and things. Let's put them out of the way for a minute. Now I have started, I'm going to show you this one in a minute. I have started this, so I'm really kind of, now I've done a 2 or 3, and I think I've kind of got the hang of doing it as near authentically as I want to, really. I'm going to go my own way a bit with this one. Now this is using up really tiny, some of them are really tiny scraps of old shirts. They're quite precious scraps because they're all shirts and things that I remember. Some of them were mine, some were my first husband's, who died some years ago. Some were my son's, some were my husband John now. They've all got, I think that's a friend, Chris. This shirt came from Chris. So they've all got, I know all of these pieces, and I couldn't bear to throw them away when I'd finished making my big quilt. So this would be perfect to use them up. And what I'm going to do this time is, instead of neatly turning all the edges under, I'm going to leave them raw. I will still put, I've done 2 layers of stitching around the outside now. I will still put my layer of what I'm using as wadding, which is that fabric I can't remember the name of, but I know anybody who sews in that will recognise the fabric. Oh, if I can get it to focus. There we go. You'll know that fabric. It's got a tiny bit of stretch in it, a little bit of give in it, and it's synthetic, and it's kind of like a lightweight interlining kind of thing, instead of doing, because it doesn't need to be full-on wadding for what I'm using this for, but I do think a bit of something to give it a bit of body does help the look of the thing. So oh look, I got carried away and did 3 lines. That's because I just love doing these lines of straight stitching. So I sat and did that in front of the telly last night. So I will still add my my wadding in. I don't mind that the edge is going to be a little bit thinner there, because you've got to turned under bits in there anyway. So the idea was I was just going to leave the edges raw this time, because I think I'm going to quite like the look of that. And after I'd put them all on, I thought, no, you can't do that around the edges. The very outer edges have got to be turned under to make it more durable and give it a neater finish. So then I took them all off and did it again. But it's a labour of love. I just love doing it. And this time for this one, I'm using embroidery floss. So I've got lots of sort of ends of embroidery floss to use up. Some that I've collected over the years, some have been donated by friends. So I think all of this, I will mix up all these shades of blue. I think will go beautifully with all of these shirts, and I might even incorporate a few shirt buttons on here as well. And this piece will probably turn into another little tote bag. It might end up even being a gift bag, this one, for one of my boys, because I think they'd definitely recognise all of these shirts as well. And if I make them something like a cushion or a quilt, they won't use it. It needs to be something useful, maybe a peg bag. Anyway, okay, so that's that. I will carry on with that and I'll keep you updated with that one as I go along. So the next thing I mentioned last time, this thing looks like a weird pair of patchwork pants. This is that kind of like a fabric basket, caddy, whatever you want to call it, that I was talking about last time. So normally you would do this with an inner and an outer. You'd have a main fabric that would end up on the outside, a contrasting fabric that would end up on the inside, and you would use iron-on interfacing on your main fabric. I decided that because this ends up quite weighty, this sort of quilted piece, that would do for all 3 pieces. But then I thought, but the backing fabric I've used this time isn't particularly pretty, so I've made a lining anyway. So I thought I'll just stop when I get to this point, because if you haven't seen these bags and how they work, this is a good chance to sort of explain it. So you basically start with a square, you cut 2 squares out the bottom edge. It's not you need them to be the same, but it's not crucial. What you've got to bear in mind is that this piece here ends up forming the base of your basket, so the size of pieces you cut out govern the size and shape of the basket you can end up with. So then once you've done that, normally you do all of this kind of right sides together, but I've been, rather than doing it right sides together, I've just done a little overstitch. There we go. Not hugely neat, because I'm ending up doing a lot of this in a good sort of bit of poor light downstairs late in the evening, but it honestly doesn't matter to me for this, and it's only me going to be using it. So rather than doing it right sides together and do a little 1/4 inch seam allowance or anything, I've just literally butted the edges together and overstitched them. So then the idea is that you put them together like that, the 2 pieces, and this would be in your main fabric with interfacing ironed on to the wrong side of it. And then basically what you do is this: you pick those up, match this seam and that seam together, match this seam and that seam together. And if you do this in a machine, on a sewing machine, in the normal way, rather than do it with course, you can knock these out really, really quickly. They make nice little sort of thing to put a gift in or whatever, and really handy. You know, just put a couple of balls of wool and your crochet hooks, or there's just, you can make them all different sizes. They're useful in the bedroom. You could put you can make a little loop and button so that it would actually close up. And the nice thing is that where you've got your contrast fabric, you can turn it over and you have this kind of nice contrasting cuff like that. You can experiment with all sorts of different shapes and proportions. So yeah, what I will do in this case is another little, just butt those edges up together and do a little neat overstitch there, so that I've got this. And then I've done exactly the same thing with my contrasting fabric. So this has got seams all over it because it was cut from an old blouse. I laid the pieces out and used that as a pattern to cut this. I just gave myself like a seam allowance all the way around, and I've stitched those together just with a little, I think I just used a back stitch. I hand stitched it all. I just wanted to stick to hand stitching. Normally you then put these 2 pieces together, right sides together, stitch around the top leaving a little hole, pull the whole lot through, and then you'd end up with this inside. I've got to do it slightly differently because I'm not doing that seaming like that. So what I'm going to do is turn over the edge all the way around and just finger press it, and then do another little overstitch to attach these 2 together. So then when I turn this over, I've got that as my contrasting cuff material. And then I found this last little bit of this daisy braid that I've got, and I think I'm going to put this on as well, just to sort of brighten it up a bit. I think that'd be cute. So I'm going to do that. I will stitch all that together, and then I hope that made some kind of sense. I bet anybody watching this has probably made these before and is thinking you could probably explain it a lot better than I just have. But and there are loads and loads of tutorials. If you just type in something like fabric basket or something, that will get you there. Loads of people explaining how to do this way better than I just did. So yeah, I'm going to do that. It won't take me too long, and then I will come back and show you in a moment. Right, so here we are. It's all finished. It's not beautifully sewn. It's really not beautifully sewn. It looks worse through the camera. I can see it better than I can with my naked eyes. But it's serviceable. It's certainly good enough for what I want, and my rubbish eyes won't see that sewing anyway. So the idea was that I would turn it over like that. You know, I could carry it around like this. I could put a little handle if I wanted to, I suppose, but I won't in this case. And then I can just open it out like that to stand it on my table wherever I'm working. You know, there's plenty of room in there for 2 or 3 balls of wool and my crochet hooks, or pencils and things, or whatever I might be doing. Yeah, so that's that. And then the other thing I wanted to do, and I'm doing it, I'm hoping that Mary's going to be watching this, or Sue. I think Sue's been giving me, Sue's obviously done these before as well, because she's been giving me advice too. So I'm hoping one of you is watching and will be able to help me with this. I want to make the corners, which I believe are called fuller, but I don't know how that's spelt. Now I've got this little square. I'd love to. I've got enough of this to make 4. I think Mary said that you don't like turn the edges in or anything like you do with all the other pieces. You just fold it and sew it. Is it just like that? That doesn't look right to me. Or is it like this? Do I just fold it and stitch it on like that? I cannot find a single tutorial or even close-up photo. That's just going to go all kind of floppy like that. Do I do it like that? Do I fold it into 4 like that and just do more running stitches to hold it into shape and then stitch it on? Or do you just kind of pinch it together and do that? Mary or Sue, if you're watching and you can help me with this bit, because I know you've done these before, if you could, I know it's hard to put these things into words sometimes, isn't it? But if you could manage to explain to me, or share a close-up picture of one that you've done on the Arty Farty Party Facebook group. I know Mary's had posted the beginnings of a Kawandi quilt she was starting just recently. So yeah, if you could help me in it at all. I think otherwise, if not, I'll probably I quite like the look of just having it like that, but this material isn't holding a fold, so it'll end up doing sort of that, which doesn't look very, I don't know. So I'm a bit stuck. I would really appreciate some advice on that if anyone can help me. So that's it from me today. Thank you very much. Before I go, this is probably almost the last time I'm going to say it. Don't forget that this Saturday coming, the 5th of November, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. UK time, it's Arty Farty Party time. Lots of goodies to give away, guests and gossip, and bring your doodling kit. It would be lovely to see you there, even if only for a little while. Just drop in and say hi. You don't have to join in with the doodling if you don't want to. I bet there's some lovely prizes and it should be a lot of fun. It's going to be very fast paced. I'm hoping I can keep up with my own schedule. I've actually written myself a list, but I'm not very good at following lists. Anyway, I'm really excited about it, and it would be lovely to see as many of you as possible there. If you go onto my YouTube kind of homepage thing, the live stream thing is already there. You can click on that and ask it to notify you when we start. I think we've scheduled to actually start 5 minutes early at 5 to 2. Okay, anyway, hopefully see you there, but I'll see you soon anyway. Thank you very much for joining me today. Take care. Bye.